What's up everybody? This is Dylan with Manoa Chocolate, and today on Craft Chocolate TV we are going to make white chocolate, which is something that I really enjoy. I know that it's not necessarily the chocolate that craft chocolate makers focus on making, but I do like white chocolate, and the reason is it's fat and sugar. It's mainly fat, cocoa butter, and sugar, and a lot of milk powder. And that's Manoa Chocolate's recipe. And so we are going to go step by step in how to make white chocolate at home. And you will need a small stone melanger. You can get them on Amazon. They're somewhere around $150 to $300 depending on which one you get. I haven't really noticed the difference between them. They're all very weak, small grinders that are made for hobby use. We use them for doing test batches primarily. Now, there's 2 stone wheels and there's scrapers on each side. And everything's going to get crushed under the stones, and in this case, when I say everything, I'm talking about sugar. So the recipe that we're going to use, this is a 35% cocoa butter, 35% milk powder, and 30% sugar recipe. We're going to do 1 kilo, which is 1,000 grams, and what that means is 350 grams of cocoa butter, 350 grams of milk powder, and 300 grams of sugar. That's 1,000 grams, and that's going to be today's white chocolate recipe. This is a recipe that I like because it's not that sweet. I'm always trying to not make something that's sweet where it turns into candy, although white chocolate is definitely in the realm of candy. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to load a little bit of the cocoa butter and all of the sugar. And in this case, we'll probably do about half of the 350 grams. So maybe we'll do 150 grams of cocoa butter, and we'll save the rest for the milk powder, which is going to make it way more viscous. But this is going to be the sweetness, this is going to be the creaminess, this is the melt in your mouth, and this is also going to be that milky creaminess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on, and you can hear when I do that, that's going to be the crushing effect. So here we go. We're going to turn this on, and you're going to need at some point these 3 items, which is a scraper to make sure that the sugar, the milk powder is all getting cleaned off the sides and the wheels, so everything goes under those stones and fractures evenly, everything meaning the milk powder and the sugar. And then you're going to need something to clean up, and then this is just an additional scraper. If you want to speed things up, a heat gun is really handy. So, without further ado, after you have weighed everything out, we are going to load our grinder. So what you saw there is I basically just got some oil. I'm lubricating the wheels, and now what I would start to do is add sugar and cocoa butter, sugar and cocoa butter to the point where I've got a ratio where it will still fracture all the sugar crystals down to a very small micron size, mainly below 20. And then as soon as I've got the ratio right, I'm going to walk away for about 12 to 24 hours. So let's go ahead and load this. So what we got going on now is you saw the way that I loaded the sugar wasn't too fast. If you do it too quickly, what will often happen is it will cake and become very hard on and bond to the stone. And so then you're having to scrape it off the stone. So you want to do a slower, you want to add the sugar at a slower pace and evenly, and have the right ratio of cocoa butter. So you can see it wasn't very difficult to do, but you don't want to dump everything in at once. And that applies to the large stone melangers as well, they're stone grinders. So now I'm going to turn this back on, but once you get that ratio right, we're going to come back and check on it in 12 hours. If the micron size, if the grittiness is refined enough, we will then add the remainder of our cocoa butter and the remainder of our milk powder. Now just to go a little bit further into what the raw materials are, raw materials meaning cocoa butter, milk powder, and sugar. Our milk powder is a 28.5% fat. It's coming from Humboldt Creamery. And I've been looking a little more into milk powder. My understanding is that if we were to get more of a lower fat milk powder, it actually have a stronger milk chocolate taste because the fat in it is taking up a lot of the, what could be flavor in milk powder. So this is something I don't understand too much. Cocoa butter, this is natural cocoa butter. You can get deodorized cocoa butter. I prefer the natural cocoa butter. That's just my own preference. And this is coming from Machu Picchu Foods in Peru. And they've got really good cocoa butter. We've tasted a lot of different cocoa butters from around the world, and everything from Mexico to Dominican Republic to Belize. I prefer the consistency and quality that's coming out of Peru. Once again, that's my own palate. And the way that I figured that out is this is what cocoa butter looks like before it melts. And I ate a lot of it. This is the one that tasted good to me. And then, sugar. The sugar, our primary source is from a company called Native out of Brazil. They've got a great reputation. They've got a really good story. I recommend looking it up. The Green Cane Project is what they're known for, and that's the sugar that we use. And so that is what we put in our white chocolate. We don't even add vanilla. So we keep it really simple with minimal ingredients, although I think vanilla does taste nice in white chocolate. All right, so I'm going to turn this on. We're going to then switch to a batch that we'd started yesterday, and we're going to add the additional ingredients. Now, we've switched out our grinders. This is the same ratio that we started yesterday. Now we're going to add our milk powder and the remainder of the cocoa butter. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on and watch at the rate and ratios that I'm doing this. We're also going to need some type of little spoon. It's going to help us stay cleaner, and load the milk powder right behind the wheels, the stone wheels. So check this out. All right, we're going to add a little bit of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to load until it starts to get really thick. The viscosity is going to be very high. And then I'm going to add more butter. And that'll thin it right out. So now we've loaded all the ingredients in. What I'm going to do is, it's very thick right now, I can apply heat and that'll speed things up. And I'm also going to scrape all of the milk powder and maybe any residual sugars that are lying on the shafts of the scrapers or of what ties into the stones or on the shaft that goes up and down. And that way everything is refined as evenly as we can get it. You don't want to leave large sugar chunks or milk powder anywhere because you want it to evenly refine into your chocolate. So I'm going to turn this back on. I'm going to mix everything on there. And that's how you make white chocolate at home. If you want to learn how to hand temper it, because after about 12 to 24 hours, this should be completed. And you can hand temper by using a cold counter, whether it's stainless steel or marble or granite, and reducing the temperature and structuring it. We do have episodes on that, so you can look up hand tempering. We also have episodes on how you make white chocolate in a larger stone grinder, if you have one, but the steps remain identical, just with larger amounts of the raw materials. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.